Thank you.
Neighbors.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and start this evening, and I wanted to welcome you and thank you for joining us this evening. We have a wonderful crowd. I'm happy about that. We are the Lynn Haven Heritage Society, and this is our meeting of the candidates. I'm not going to introduce each candidate to you. I'm going to let them come to the podium, introduce themselves, and candidates, if you will say a little bit of something about yourself and maybe what your interests or your main issues are for this campaign. Everybody will have 5 minutes to talk. Janet will be our timekeeper, and she's going to let you know when you're down to about 30 seconds by raising her hand. That way you can kind of wrap it up. And then audience, when we're done with the candidates speaking, I'd like to do a little bit of time of question and answer. Maybe 15-20 minutes, so we won't have a lot of time. So be thinking about your questions. And also, one thing I just thought of sitting here, obviously if you ask a question, not each candidate will have time to answer. So ask your question and maybe ask it to a particular candidate or maybe two, but kind of limited to that. That way, you know, we can get more questions in. Okay, I think we're ready to get started, and we'll start rounding this in and work our way.
The link and you can paste it as a post. Go to the group that you want to post it in.
Good evening. Thanks to the Heritage Society for putting this on to give us all a chance to meet a new group of folks. I am Joe Brown. I am running as a candidate for mayor. Grew up in Bay County, attended Bay High, graduated Gulf Coast State College, then graduated with a degree in finance from Auburn University. Then during my time away from Bay County, I gained experience in banking, working with a Fortune 500 company, and over 20 years worth of city and county government experience in 3 different states. Some of the things I was responsible for there were working with multi-million-dollar budgets, doing investments for our county, allocating billions of tax dollars from county property taxes to various municipalities and school districts, serving as an accountant, an auditor, an investment manager, and as a finance director in a couple of places. In the wake of Hurricane Michael, COVID-19, and the ongoing federal investigations of public corruption, our cities continue to recover and rebuild. We see it every day. Experienced leadership over the next few years is going to be vital to keep this effort going. As I've been walking around different neighborhoods in Lynn Haven, the #1 concern of most of the citizens is doing the rebuild and recovery of the city. You know, we've seen examples of that. The Garden Center has been rebuilt already. The Senior Center has been rebuilt. We're working on the demolition of the library and the old City Hall started a couple of weeks ago. So we're making progress on rebuilding the city. That being said, that's not the only issue that we're facing now. We've got to continue to work with municipal and county leaders, state and federal leaders and agencies to get the necessary resources to complete these tasks. But we've also got to address other issues such as bringing jobs and businesses to Lynn Haven, infrastructure improvements, affordable housing, and working to restore that public trust in the government and our city leaders. My experience in over 20 years worth of city and county government will be important as we go through these next 2 years. I believe I have the experience and leadership skills in order to move our city forward. On April 20th, vote for and elect the candidate with the experience and leadership skills to keep our city moving forward. Vote for and elect Joe Brown for mayor of the city of Lynn Haven. Thank you.
You check and see in the neighbors group if it's showing up.
Hello, good evening, everybody. My name is Ellen Fields. I'm running for mayor of Lynn Haven. I would like to start off first by telling you a little bit about myself and my education. Somebody accused me of embellishing my career when in fact I downplayed it a little bit. I have always been an educational person, love to go to school. I think I could be a full-time student because I just love to learn. But anyway, I worked at Wall Street for 3 years, and then after trying to decide what I wanted to do after I got a degree in psychology and biology at Glassboro State College, I went into the educational field. I owned a private school, licensed private school by the Department of Education in Pennsylvania, and that's very important. It was a private school, it was the real deal. Anyway, I was the CEO. I ran everything as far as education, finance, and things like that. I still went back to school to further my education and constantly stay on board. A lot of people don't realize that a lot of laws were put into place that teachers had to stay current, and every 5 years go back to college, which I thought was just, the best thing for us because it kept us in the loop. Unfortunately, on August 1st, 2009, I had a terrible slip and fall accident. I broke my neck, my wrist, things like that, went to therapy, and I was okay. So that is how I became retired. One of the stipulations for my retirement, and I think this was very important, was I had to voluntarily turn in my diplomas and things like that. I still have, obviously, my college degrees, but as far as what I got for being a principal in the STAR 2 program, things like that, in order for my insurance to say, okay, this is what you need to do. And of course, I said yes. I was never going to physically be able to go back in the education system. And I felt that was important because we had a lot of people question this. And I thought, well, let me just be honest with you, because if you're going to go look, now you have a place to search and, know the truth. I married my husband, Gene Fields. He's retired military. We were living in the state of Washington by Fairchild Air Force Base. He became ill, and his doctor said, to move somewhere where there was oceans. So that is how we wound up in Lynn Haven. He used to work at Tyndall very briefly, but he just loves airplanes, and so he said, this is where we're going to land, and we did. Then I moved into the hammocks, and the hammocks was a little bit of a disaster. Of course, it had the hurricane and some other problems from administration there. And so I ran on the board there, and that's what I've been doing for the last couple of years. And where I'm going with this is, you're looking for a mayor who has time to dedicate and devote to you. I am always going to be there. I'm going to be able to represent you, go to Tallahassee for things that need to be done for the mayor. You need time, you need somebody to help you, and I am that person, which is why I think that you should vote for me for mayor. I have a lot of other skills. I've, again, worn a lot of hats in my life, but I'm also a very good learner. Anything I need to learn, I get on it right away. I think that I listen very well to people. I have a lot of topics that I think that are important, like the charter and obviously the stormwater, which I think that was a good project that they're working on, but it still needs tweaking. But I just think that everything needs to be addressed, but especially the elevation of communication. Because I think that so many people, when I was out, talking door to door, people are just angry at administration here in Lynn Haven. And when administration says at meetings, well, nobody tells me, I don't understand why. I don't know why they're not listening to you, because as a mayor, my job as a civil servant is to represent you constantly. You should be there, and have any problem, come to me and you let me know what it is and I take care of it. So remember to vote on April 20th, and if you want somebody to, get rid of this problem that we have in our city with people not listening to you, I will listen to you. I will bring your problems to the table. Thank you very much.
Good evening to everyone. My name is Jesse Nelson. Thank you for the opportunity to come and share with you in this forum. It's been challenging meeting individuals in public settings due to COVID-19, the fears associated with it. So I'm grateful that you all have come out tonight so that we could address some of your concerns and you could get to know us all a little better. Again, my name is Jesse Nelson, candidate for Lynn Haven Mayor. To tell you a little bit about myself, I'm a son. My mother died 7 years ago, but my father is still living in Eufaula, Alabama. And so I do have a concern for seniors and the aging citizens in our community. I'm a husband. My wife and I have been married for nearly 15 years. We own a small business here in Lynn Haven, recently opened it, the Coastal Massage and Wellness Clinic. So I also understand the struggles of small business ownership. We had to close down during COVID-19. So we definitely understand the struggles that everyone faces with small business. I'm a father. I have 2 children. They're not here tonight. They had to continue to finish some of their homework so they can enjoy Good Friday on tomorrow. But my 2 children, I have a 13-year-old daughter. She will be a freshman at Mosley High School on next year. And I have a 8-year-old son who loves to play sports, and he will be a 4th grader at Bay Haven Charter Academy on next year. And so by having children, I'm really concerned about the future of Lynn Haven. I would like to continue to see us grow and be a great community to live in so that my children won't have to move away. They might be able to attend school here, find jobs here, and then raise their families here as well. Some of you are grandparents and you have to travel far to see your grandchildren. And so I would want to do that as a grandfather. And so I would try to jealously keep them here so that I could see my grandkids a little closer. Also, I'm a pastor. I'm the pastor of Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church. I have served this congregation since 2014. And as pastor, I've been here to experience Hurricane Michael and some of the other issues that we've had in our community. And so I do understand what it means to talk to individuals who are still struggling with rebuilding their homes, to fight with contractors, as well as trying to rebuild their spirit after it's been depleted from a storm and now dealing with COVID-19. And so my church has also been impacted by the natural disaster as well as the pandemic. And so we have to find ways to manage our budget. We have to find ways to continue to keep people employed without cutting their salaries and to still be effective in reaching our community. And so some of the same struggles and challenges that I would face as mayor of Lynn Haven, I've already faced it and continue to face it and successfully dealing with it as pastor of Macedonia. I also believe I'm a community servant. I'm on the board of directors at Anchorage Children's Home. I'm also a mentor at Mosley High School. I'm a chaplain for the Panama City Police Department. And I have some partnerships with other organizations through our church so that we can lend our services. For example, this Saturday, I'll be leading the leadership portion of a microloan business workshop that our church, along with other organizations, are sponsoring to help small minority businesses level up in their business structure by providing them a small microloan so they can hopefully expand their business to include more employees or buy more equipment. And most of all, I desire to be your mayor. I'm running for mayor because I care about my community. I believe that the qualities of a good mayor are what I possess. At least that's what my friends tell me. And so I believe the qualities of a good mayor require communication leadership, service, organizational management, and most importantly, the ability to listen. And so I believe I possess all of those qualities. As mayor, my priorities will be restoring public trust, and I believe that will be the priority for all of us, is restoring public trust. I plan to do that through transparency, accountability, and accessibility. Second, I would like for us to prepare for our future through economic development, as well as continuing to work on our infrastructure repair. And thirdly, I would like for us to continue to improve our quality of safety, our quality of life and safety. Whether you know it or not, Lynn Haven is one of the top 10 safest cities to live in the state of Florida. We are the #1 safest city to live in Bay County. And so I want to continue to improve on enhancing our safety, our security, and our quality of life so that we can all enjoy living in this wonderful city. I humbly ask for your vote on or before April 20th as your mayor of Lynn Haven.
Good afternoon, everyone. I appreciate your invitation to come to see you and speak before you this afternoon and tell you about myself. My name is George H. Hines Jr. I was born and raised in Bay County, Florida, in a segregated society. I didn't integrate school until I got into the 8th grade. I went to Jinx, I went to Bay High, I went to Rutherford. I left Rutherford and went to the military. I did 21 and a half years in the military. While into the military, I learned 3 different languages and forgot all of them now. Sorry to say, it don't stick with you. It's like math. If you don't use it, you lose it. Anyway, when I was in the military, and I did assignments in Germany, Afghanistan, I did assignments in Korea, different places like that, so I know how to live in different countries and different environments. I've dealt with different people from different nations many times, in many ways. I was in the Army, not saying anything bad about the Air Force, but we made them who they are. Now, of course, the political campaign, we have a problem with trust and dependability in the city of Lynn Haven. It didn't start last year. It didn't start the year before last. It started years and years ago. Some of you are not from Bay County, born and raised, so you don't know some of the things about Lynn Haven that I didn't have knowledge of, such as the roads and the highways and the land. Everybody talks about the drainage system. It is bad because the water table is so high around here. One part of it used to be a swamp area. We had property over there and we sold it because we thought nobody ever lived in it. Now you have an industrial park in the area that we used to own. So things like that do happen. For as my priorities, rainwater runoff, and also the infrastructure. Anything under the ground you can't see, so you can't measure it. If the earth got tore up, so did the underground got tore up. So we repaired everything after the hurricane, but we didn't repair our infrastructure. Infrastructure is the #1 problem in Lynn Haven, Bay County, and half of the country. And everyone knows that they don't watch the news these days. I was married to my wife of 22 years that I have now, and I had 4 kids. The oldest one is older than some of y'all, so I won't mention the ages. But my youngest child died. I took my youngest child's child, and I raised her, and she went to Bay Haven. She went to New Home Activity, so I don't have a problem with private schools or public schools. Then she graduated from Rutherford. She went to college. She graduated college in 2 years with 2 degrees. One in psychology and one is in biomedical engineering. She wanted to be a doctor. She had more ambition than I do. I want to be a politician, but I'm not really one. What I say is what I mean, and that's what you'll get if you elect me for the position of city commissioner. I will tell you, George, if you found another truth, then I resent the statement I made at that time. I appreciate the vote, and I won't take your 5 minutes and waste it. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Stacy Houchins, and I'm running for seat 3. I'm a native of Panama City, Florida. I moved here from North Dakota for 6 years, where my dad was serving in the military. And let me just tell you, it was very cold going from Florida to North Dakota. I came back after 6 years and was a lead teacher at Tyndall Air Force Base Youth Programs, where I worked there for 12 years. I was responsible for all the ordering of supplies while maintaining a budget and approving all lesson plans. I am now currently a substitute teacher at North Bay Haven. I am also on the North Bay Haven Varsity Football Boosters, where my part is to fundraise for the program, communicate with parents, and assist the head coach as needed. I recently served on the HOA in my neighborhood for 2 years as secretary and learned many new things and worked with various individuals and agencies. Upon doing that, we were able to hire a new management company and work with various contracts. I have 5 wonderful children. They are also not here tonight because they are home doing homework. And I'm married to an Air Force veteran who is in the back there wearing my shirt, who continues to serve as a civilian pilot at Tyndall. Yes, he is the one that you hear flying up and down the beach making all the noise. Finally, I am a small business owner with my husband where we operate Aviation Services, LLC. And that is who I am. Oh, let me go over my 3. I do have 3 main issues, 3 main issues. These, of course, are not all of my issues, but I have 3 main issues that I'm concerned about, and that is the city rebuild, transparency and trustworthiness of the city government and officials, and stormwater. And I would be glad to talk to every one of you afterwards if you have any more questions for me on those issues.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Warwick, and I'm running for Lynn Haven Commissioner Seat 3. I'm not a Bay County native. I'm originally from a small town in central New York. And after I graduated high school, I decided to join the Air Force and leave New York, which was probably the smartest decision I ever made. After spending 23 years in the military, I was able to fill multiple leadership positions. And one of the things you may know or may not know is a lot of times when you're in the military, you don't fill a position for very long. You usually do it for a year, maybe 2 years, and then they put you into a different position. So you have to learn very quickly. So I have a lot of leadership and management skills, and I'm able to learn on the fly. After I was stationed at Tyndall from 2008 to 2014, and the Air Force decided to send me to Dyess Air Force Base, Texas. I spent 2.5 years there, retired, and me and my wife decided we wanted to move back here. We really enjoyed this area, and we consider this our home, and we're hoping this is the last move we ever have to make. So that's me in a nutshell. Some of the things that I'm concerned about for the city is, 1, the city debt. That's one of my biggest priorities. When you look at the city debt from FY15, fiscal year 15 to fiscal year 20, it's gone up substantially. I've heard multiple different numbers. I think we're at about $68.9 million of debt right now. And it's pretty scary. And it wouldn't be so much of a concern for me if a lot of our infrastructure, old archaic infrastructure, was fixed. But that's not the case. We still have a lot of problems with that. So luckily for me, since I've retired, I've done a lot of program acquisition management. And that's kind of a fancy word for basically you're keeping track of funds, making sure they're going to the correct projects and that they expend all the money. As you know, DoD government doesn't try to make a profit. They got to spend every single dollar. So I'm really big with numbers. And I know that probably doesn't interest a lot of people, but when you look at numbers, it's supposed to tell you a story as long as it's the correct data. And a couple things that I found is, 1, I actually did a public records request with Lynn Haven. And I looked at how much they spent for payroll from fiscal year 15 to fiscal year 20. And I have it on my website. And I exported all that data, put it in Excel, and was able to kind of do an analysis on that. And the amount that we paid for payroll has increased by 85% from fiscal year 15 to fiscal year 20. And there may be multiple reasons for that, such as hiring more people and things like that. Another thing I found was in overtime. We spent over $1.8 million in overtime over those years. And so maybe that's another area. If we have a certain department, maybe we need to hire some more people if that's the case. Because there are some situations it's actually cheaper to pay someone overtime. But if there's a certain department that's constantly working overtime, then it would actually save us more money to hire another person in some cases. So, of course, stormwater, we all know that's a big issue that's going on. And I actually had the privilege of sitting down with Chris Lightfoot, who is the Assistant Public Works Director, and he showed everything to me, his plan of how to tackle this whole big project. And I think he's got a really solid plan. It's going to come down to funding, how we're going to get funding for that. So I think the city has been making some strides going forward with that, which is great, but it's not going to happen overnight, and it's going to be a struggle, but I believe that with the project management skills I have, that I can assist with that. And the last thing I have, which is probably the biggest thing, is restoring public trust. I think most of our problems is that. If it's unfortunate, I believe that most politicians, when they go into office, they believe that they had all good intentions of doing good things for the city, but somewhere along the way, they were easily manipulated. And so I can tell you with me, I was fortunate that I had good parents that brought me up with good values, and when I went in the military, it just kind of enforced that on me. And so integrity has been something that's been ingrained in me since I've been born, and it's been part of my life, and it's part of my DNA. And I will never veer for that line. So that's my promise to Lynn Haven is I always do what I believe is best for the residents, and I'll never veer away from that line of integrity. So I'm not connected with any of these big interest groups you have, or the thing you always hear about, the good old boy system or anything like that. The only family I have here is my immediate family, which is my wife and my kids. So thank you for your time, and I humbly ask for your vote.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Brian Dick, running for Commissioner Seat 4. I've been in Bay County since 1979. My mom and dad moved down here from Ohio, and we've had several businesses while we were here, a couple of different motels. Some of you may remember the ice cream cone that was on Cove Boulevard next to Church's Chicken. That was once ours. I grew up in that little place, and that's where I got as fat as I am. Gotta have fun. You gotta have fun. You gotta have laughter. Things that are important to me are naturally the stormwater. Everybody is. But stormwater is being worked on. And I think that there's a lot of people that want to see massive improvement quickly instead of seeing the right controls in place over a shorter period of time, which will make it sustain longer. The other one is definitely the transparency and the trust. As Mayor Pro Tem Russell said in the last commission meeting, with the latest indictments that happened, it's like we got punched in the gut again. And enough is enough, you know. I know that, like what Jamie just said here, I'm not attached to any special interest groups. I work a job just like everybody else does. My beautiful wife, Louisa, sitting back there, we both work for the same company. And the last one would be the infrastructure, or not the infrastructure, the economics and commerce, and bringing in more jobs, more manufacturing. Lynn Haven's the biggest manufacturer in Bay County. And I don't know how many people know that, but it is. We got a commerce park over there, still got plenty of room for more industry. We need to put more industry in there. What you're going to get from me, the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, integrity, a strong moral character, and I will always be available, even if it's at night. Give me a call, send me an email, give me a text. I'll be here for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. My name's Brian Gray. Pretty handsome guy, but different Brian. I moved here with my parents in 1965. When I was 2 years old, I said, Dad, St. Louis is great, but I heard this little town, Lynn Haven. Why don't you get a job at the Navy base down there? So it was either here or White Sands, New Mexico, and thank the Lord we got here. We were raised on 1215 Michigan Avenue. Used to come by here on the way to school and get candy from Mr. and Miss Lloyd. Really nice town. Love Lynn Haven. And I love my wife too. She's back there. If I say anything y'all kind of sketchy about, she'll straighten you out. Or straighten me out probably. And that's okay. So I've been doing neighborhood walks, talking to different people. I pretty much put a flyer on every door. If I put 2 on your door, I'll try not to put 3. But there's actually 2 things that come to mind, and others have alluded to it. Myself and Jamie had met with Ms. Tender probably back in August or so. And I understand you were in the Air Force. Was the Army full when you joined the Air Force or something? Everybody can't be in the infantry, right? Yeah, infantry's number one. But we had some good conversations, and she's real accessible, real easy to talk to. I've met with Vicki Gaynor. She's easy to talk to. And probably the number one thing that citizens have asked me about is our debt. As others have alluded to, some figures is 64 million, some figures is 68 million. Commissioner Aldridge on a radio show last week said 71 million, so we don't know what the number is. If you look at the budget of Lynn Haven now, you still don't know who we owe, how much we owe, and how we're going to pay it back. I talked to Mayor Kelly, and when he left office in 2015, we had a deficit of about $2 million. So over the course of 5 or 6 years, that's unsustainable. I know it is at my household. I hate for us to reach a point where the banks won't loan us any more money, or that the city gets insolvent. We don't need for that to happen. Probably the second thing, and probably right along with the first one that I've heard from different people, is trust, public trust. 2 years ago at the last municipal election, there was approximately 23,000 residents in Lynn Haven. 15,000 were registered to vote, and only 1,450 actually voted. So the trust has been eroded through the years. I understand we had 2 Hurricane Michaels, the natural one and Hurricane Michael White, but we don't need to keep going in that direction. We need to turn around and get 2 new commissioners, a new mayor, and we can make good things happen. For those who serve in government, this should be the absolute rule, not the exception. Accountability. I know my bank expects me to be accountable when I write that check to make sure there's funds in there. A strong work ethic. I started working at the Waffle House when I was 15 years old. I came through at South Fork because Lynn Haven didn't have a kindergarten back then. Mowat, Mosley, Gulf Coast, FS, the Florida State University. I bring a lot of things to the table. I have a master's degree in theology and divinity from Liberty Baptist Theological Seminary. I have a master's in clinical applied psychology from the Florida State University. And I have a bachelor's in management from Florida State. I'm currently a licensed mental health counselor with the Veterans Administration right here in Lynn Haven in the Tyndall Federal Building by Mosley. I think we should never forget our veterans or the families because they paid the ultimate price, some of them. And that's why I vote for a vet. It's not to bring attention to me, but to bring attention to accountability. Self-sacrifice is what city servants need to be. Honest, trustworthy, strong moral compass. We need to understand we know right from wrong. We learned that in kindergarten when we learned how to play well with others. Sometimes we forget those lessons, but we need to keep them in the forefront of our mind, not in the back. I promise to honor my military background, my conservative beliefs, and always act according to constitutionally established principles. I was a senior NCO in the Florida National Guard for 31 years. I did 4 combat deployments with the infantry to wonderful places that are not on any travel maps, I don't think. Iraq, Pakistan, Ukraine, Panama, and many wonderful places. I was 24 years as a senior probation officer with the Florida Department of Corrections. And I would really appreciate your vote, appreciate your consideration. My flyer on the table there actually has my phone number on it, and I actually do answer it. My Facebook page is Grayford Bay, and you're welcome to ask me anything. If you're like me and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, oh man, I forgot about this. Just hit me up. I'm happy to answer. Thank you for your consideration, and make sure you vote for the right Brian. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Judy Tender, and I currently serve as a commissioner, seat 4. Been there 4 years, since 2017. I'd first like to say that we have some great candidates. We have some very nice people running for office this year. I've actually met with both Brians who are running against me and even encouraged them and said, oh yeah, whatever. But, and then it came to a point where I said, I can't quit. I've got to at least put myself out there as an option for the voters. I said in my flyer, after going through Hurricane Michael and this whole COVID business, I really had to do some soul searching to think about whether I really wanted to run or not. So there's nothing easy about being a commissioner, because I feel if you do it right, you're there for the people. When they ask you a question, no matter how hard it is, you answer honestly and let them make up their own mind. Whether they agree with me or don't, that's up to them. So I answer probably 50 to 75 questions a day, and I get phone calls at 7 a.m. and I get phone calls at 9 p.m. And if there are problems with a resident, whatever it may be, and most people would think, oh, that's a silly thing, but it's not to them. You know, it's about them. And I think when you're a public servant, it has to be about the citizens. And you help them no matter what you can do, you know, and you do what you can. Now, obviously, if you've been to a meeting or you've watched it on YouTube or watched Ryan here doing his little things, you know that one vote does not make a difference when you have 5 people voting. And that's a huge issue. But I had Ryan, I'm going to pick on you a minute. He interviewed me the other day for his Lynn Haven residence and neighborhood, sorry. And he said, well, somebody asked me, why do you always vote no? And that's a fair question. I do vote no a lot. Even though I realize my voting no is not going to change anything, it still is going to be passed. The residents that know me know that if I voted no, I had many residents tell me they wanted me to vote no. They didn't agree with it. Or they could count on the fact that I was voting no because I'm following my conscience. And there's always a reason for it. And I never mind telling people why I vote no about things. So that's a big thing. And we had a 4-hour conversation after the camera went off. So I don't have any problem talking. Some of the other things that are issues for me that I think are very important, this charter that's coming up, it's going to be on the ballot for the city of Lynn Haven, or the referendum coming up, to vote on the charter. For the last 3 years, I've asked about having a residential committee formed so they could go through our charter that was written in 1950 or 51. There are many things in there that need attention. And we waited until the last minute, and they said to the attorney, why don't you take a look at it and make the changes? So off to the attorney it went, and I was told the other input came from city staff in City Hall. It didn't have any residential input at all. I still believe we need to do it the right way and let the residents get together, a group of 15 or 20, meet every month, whatever they want to do, come back to the commission and give us their recommendations. And then it can be voted on. And it still has to go out for referendum. So you still vote on it no matter what. So that's a big one for me. This is a huge one. Us accommodating our residents. There are twice as many people in this audience tonight than there has been in a year at a city meeting, at a commission meeting. And 10 of those are employees. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. We need to accommodate our residents. When you have meetings at 9 o'clock in the morning, I don't know how many of you can come, but I'm already working at 9. Of course, I have to go anyway, but I mean, most people are working at 9 o'clock in the morning. That's just a big issue. And we've argued it, and 3 against 1. We're still meeting at 9 in the morning, once a month, and then the other time we go to 6 p.m. 4, thank you. Yeah, it did. It went to 4 p.m. And I'm not going to sit and discuss all the reasons why it went to 4, but the time change and the age and whatever it might be. But I think it's imperative that we make the meetings available to the residents, because without your input, we don't know, what you want. So, and I also think it's kind of important too that how we treat our residents at meetings. If you've watched meetings, it can just leave you shaking your head. Recently, we said we don't answer questions at meetings. And that was new for me. I'd never heard that before. That needs to be changed. Because if you can't ask questions, what can you do? I mean, you should be able to ask questions of your own commissioners. Anyway, I'm cut off, so I appreciate your vote, and I will do the same, if not more, the second 4 as I've done the first. Thank you.
Okay, that was wonderful. Everybody did a great job. Thank you so very much. I think we'll go ahead and open it up to questions and answers now. Does anybody have a question? You can raise your hand and in the back. Can you talk loud?
Sure. My name's Lyle Burton. I'm at 917 Pennsylvania Avenue. Y'all can come by my house anytime you want. I heard you say y'all been to people's houses. I haven't seen but 3 of them. I'd love to talk to you. I've heard a lot about integrity, trust, work ethic, a lot of things, a lot of good things tonight. My question to you is, are you honest enough to look me in the eye with a raise your hand and say, do you currently have any professional or personal relationships with the current city government leaders and or city commissioner meetings? Other than Commissioner Pender, I know her answer. But do any of y'all have personal or professional relationships with any of those people over there in the city commission? Thank you. Nobody else?
Do you want to answer? Okay.
You could just raise your hand, that's all.
He just wanted to know if you had any. Okay.
This is everything you do, right?
Do you have any personal or professional relationships with these people that are currently in leadership?
No. Explain what you mean.
I just want to know if you're friends or you work with them, or a lot of friendships around here I've learned the last 5 years. And I take everything we've gone through personally. So I'm going to die in this town, and I want to make sure that y'all are all on the up and up. Mr. Hines, I like what you said. I just want to make sure that y'all are honest and have integrity. If you don't know what integrity is, look it up. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
It's easy to say, but not easy to do. Yes,
I don't
Jamie?
know if I could talk on it or not. I think I kind of answered that when I came up and spoke earlier about integrity. And that's why one of the things I brought up was I'm not originally from here. And I was told before I was running that would be a disadvantage to me, but I think it's actually turning into an advantage now. And so, since I'm not a native of this area, like I said, I have no family, friends that are big business owners or anything like that. I have none of those connections. And like I said, integrity is the biggest thing with me. And so, like I said, I will never veer from that line. And I know that's a big thought on a lot of residents' mind. And like I said, that is my promise to the residents is I will never veer from that line, because we as servants should be doing what's best for the residents, not what's in our pocket.
Thank you. Yes.
I've been back in Lynn Haven since '98. I go to commission meeting 90% of the time. Sometimes I'm the only black person in there except for Vicki Gaynor, because she wasn't there when I was there. People in this room has a clique, and they hang out together. They pick their commissioner, and that's how this city's been ran for a long time. I'm not in a clique, I'm a clique buster. I do it at my church, I do it everywhere I ever been. So I will never be part of a group. I'm always an individual. And that's where I make my decision.
Click buster. Okay. Nope.
I wanted to answer your question also. I gave everybody a little bit more of my background for a reason. One of the things I would like to do if you vote for me for mayor, I would like to start going through records. I have a really good knack for finding anomalies and things that don't match up. And that's something that I would really like to look into, because I think that, you know, our corruption and things like that, I think we're not done with it. And that is probably a really good reason of why I would like to go in and see what is there and bring it to light. I don't have any connections to anybody here. Again, I have that fresh set of eyes. I have no agenda other than to make sure this city that we all live in runs right. And I would really, like input on that, but I'm going to do that. That is my goal. And I just wanted to let you know, sir, back there, that I'm making you that promise if I get in to look into.
Thank you. Yes. I have a short memory, but once I remember what I was going to say. Just so you all know, there's a place where you can go on the computer. It's bayvote.org. And you can all go there and see the influences of every candidate based on who's giving them money. That's one thing I decided this year, win, lose, or draw, I won't take over $50 from anybody because I think that can be done. And you will see the larger amounts. Take a look at who those people are. Investigate it for yourself. And I think Ellen just said it. If you're not connected to anybody and you don't owe anybody anything, I want to be elected not owing my people who make contributions to me. And I think that's very important, but you can all look that up. So, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, sir. Richard?
Rich Walker, if each one of you were elected, every one of you, and chose one thing that was wrong with
Can you come up here? You really want to do that, eh?
Rich Walker, okay. If each one of you were elected, and you had a choice, each one of you, what would you choose as what's wrong with Lynn Haven? And would you correct it? How would you correct it? Believe me, there are more than 15 things wrong with Lynn Haven. Okay? So you've got a chance now to change what they've done for the last 20 years. What would you do it? You would be in office for the next 15 years trying to solve that problem. My question to you is this. You bring up the buzzword stormwater. For 20 years, we have been taxed on stormwater as a citizen. We've paid into it, average of $20,000 a year. In the 20 years, nothing's been done with that money. It's disappeared. Recently, I had a meeting with city manager. She said she's transferred $400,000 a year in the last 2 years to stormwater from enterprise funds. Okay? This city runs on grants. You have a referendum for two things. Why are you going to, if you transfer that money over, and you've earned that money through the years, why are you going to tax us further? Why are you going to assess us? We pay enough taxes. I've paid everything, right up the line. Now you're taxing me more. Are you going to change this system? The system of paying taxes and not getting anything for it. I have not received anything since the hurricane for this. And I'm paying my taxes. My question to you is, the assessment for stormwater, is this right in your eyes?
Do y'all want to answer this question? Just in a quick little answer.
I think one of our major problems, if we're going to attack a problem, Mr. Walker, would be communication. And seemingly there has been a breakdown in communication with our citizens and city government on what we're actually doing with the monies that we receive. And so I believe, for example, with the stormwater projects, I think it would be essential for us to place those online so that citizens could keep track of where we are with those projects. What projects are we waiting to receive federal funds for before we begin on those? And what projects are we completing in-house? As Jamie mentioned, meeting with Mr. Chris Lightfoot, he has it all laid out, and he has it color-coded so you can know what projects they're beginning to work on, what projects they haven't worked on, what projects are completed, what projects are in progress. And so I think, and I told him, I said, I think this is information that all of the citizens need to know so that we can communicate better with our citizens. So I just think that's just one example of how we need to improve our communication. So I really believe that communication would be key in order to have better improvement for our city.
Anybody else have anything on that?
If the city is being ran by grants, then we have a problem with our grant management. Because if you have proper grant management, they're not taking salary out of the grant, they're putting it where it's supposed to be, especially on a block grant. So if we have a city ran by grants, if we manage the grants, then we won't need taxpayers. I don't like taxes. I don't like paying them, and I know you don't like paying them, so no reason to raise our tax if you can get it through grants. So I don't see a problem with that. Anybody question? Yes.
I think a lot of this stems to the budget. I have a lot of questions on the budget, and one of the things I know Brian Gray brought up that I'm concerned about the budget is when you look at it, you have no idea what the total debt is. But if you look at all the budgets prior to that, and I know you can't see this, but it looks like this. There's a bunch of little boxes on here, and it shows each loan, note, bond that we have. And it shows how much it is, and it's broken down by each fiscal year. So I can sit here and add it all up, and I can tell you, and that's how I came up with it for my flyer, to figure out how much debt we have for us each fiscal year. And I think that's part of the key, is looking at the budget and seeing what we can cut and how we can bring in more revenue. And it sounds easy, and it's not easy. But like I said, I have a lot of questions with it. As far as the answer for the stormwater fee, you know, I think we need to do everything we can to try to prevent that. Unfortunately, me coming online, I can't fix the past. What happened in the past has already happened. And I hate to say it like this, and somebody might laugh, but it's a crap sandwich. And all of us are going to have to take a little bit of a bite of it. And I hate saying that. But the thing that disappointed me with the stormwater fee was there was two options. I was more of a fan of option 2 than option 1. Option 1, the rates go up quite dramatically after the first year. So trust me, I'm not the one that wants to tell you that your taxes are going up, but I want to help alleviate it as much as I can while trying to keep as much quality service that we can. And especially when I've been going door to door, I've seen a lot of homes people are still struggling trying to get those. And of course, that is the worst time to do it. So we need to do everything we can to prevent that from happening. But we might have to pay a little more, and I hate to say it like that. But if we're going to fix it. Otherwise, we're going to be another 15, 20 years saying, how come stormwater is still a problem? So, thank you.
Let's go. Oh, okay.
To kind of tag along with what Jamie was just saying there, I don't like raising taxes either, but the stormwater assessment, one fact that hadn't been brought up tonight is that'll be assessed on every property owner in Lynn Haven, not just water customers like it is now. So it's going to spread the tax out over everybody that owns a property in Lynn Haven, not just the few that receive water from the city. So.
Thank you.
I'm a resident of Lynn Haven. I pay taxes. I don't like my water, sewer, and garbage rates being the highest it's ever been. I don't like my millage rate being the highest it's ever been. I don't like a new stormwater assessment. Why do we keep hammering our homeowners? Why can't we consider a 1% sales tax like some of our sister cities do so everybody pays? The guy that buys a Coke at the junior store, and not just keep hammering the homeowner every time. I mean, and the communication, why can't we have coffee with the commissioner on Saturdays so people can come at a time that's convenient for them and talk about what they need to talk about? Why can't we have a workshop before the commission meeting, look at the checks that we're fixing to write before we write them so we don't pay the same vendor 3 times for the same thing? Why not? It's a simple solution. We got a lot of people with a lot of good answers. Why not?
Good statement.
I absolutely agree with you, Brian. There are so many things that when we come to a commission meeting, they put in front of us 5 minutes before the meeting. And we're supposed to vote on it. Books this thick. We get 5 minutes before the meeting. I'm not a numbers person. I have always said that, and I'll always say it. I hate numbers. So I used to work with our CPA, our financial director in the past, and she could explain it to me so I would understand it and knew what we were talking about. It's only become more difficult, and the way all the budget and everything is presented now is 100 times more complicated than it used to be. I wanted to answer Rich's question back there too. The stormwater, all that, I don't want to see taxes go up, for sure. But I think something that we have to consider is controlled growth. We've got to stop building on wetlands and stop building division after division like this. And they have an instant water problem. And I think it all comes down to doing some controlled growth. And like a man said to me last Saturday, he said, "Your problem is not my problem, and mine's not yours." He said, "I don't care about water. I've never flooded." He said, "But I sure would like a stop and go light out here so I could get out of my subdivision." So for him, it was infrastructure. And I think all of that needs to be put in place before we keep just building on top of each other. It's just going to be way out of hand. So controlled growth will help a lot with that water situation.
So for your next question, this goes out to all of you. The truth is, only 3 of you will be representing this entire city, in addition to the 2 people that are already on the commission. So you have 5 total individuals to represent somewhere from 17,000 to 25,000, who knows? That's a census year, hopefully we'll find out soon. But you're representing all of those people, not a fifth of those people, every one of them. And each of the people in this community have expertises and experiences and histories that none of you have. How are you, as a candidate to represent all of those people, going to tap into the community and leverage that expertise, leverage that history, leverage that experience to help you lead our city instead of you just being up there at that table deciding for us? You are an extension of us. I can pass any one of you in Publix, Winn-Dixie, at El Jalisco, Walmart, any place. I could see any of you in any of those aisles. And you are our neighbors. You are friends of ours. You're part of this community. So how are you going to tap into this resource we have? We talked about a full room. Look at how full this room is right now. And this is barely even a piece of Lynn Haven. So how are any of you, and there's only 3 of you going to make it, how are you going to tap into the community resources and leverage the people we have in this community to help make the community better? Because you're not doing it alone. And if you're up there to do it alone, do not accept the position. Do not accept it if you're elected and you're going to do it by yourself, because you are not there for yourself. You're there for all of these people. So I'd like to hear from some of you, maybe in particular the 3 that did not do interviews with me first. Here's the chance. Answer my question. How are you going to tap into the resource of community that we have and help us? Help us help you.
Good question, Ryan.
Thank you.
The juggling process, but my feelings, my nose is over here on the side of my face, and I've got a very bitter attitude about it right now, because what Ms. Tender says is absolutely correct, and I absolutely resent it. We are the people of this community that we are supporting and driving this community. These people are supposed to be here working for us. For that body to sit up on the tables and say, we're not taking questions from the public, is absolutely insulting. I find that totally demeaning, because they're not willing to hear from us. Oh, we have to stick around a little bit longer. The meeting's going to run a little bit longer. Oh, well, welcome to the world of being elected.
First time?
Okay? You speak about the budget. We need to look hard and close at the budget and some of the abilities and authorities that people have within our money management sitting in office right now. There are people who have thousands of dollars at their disposal daily with no check and balance. Nobody to answer to. I'm sorry. I can check with my wife and I'm going to spend $50. And you're going to spend thousands of dollars on behalf of the city of Lynn Haven, but it's not necessarily in the best interest of those constituents of the city of Lynn Haven. That don't work. Something's wrong. We need to reevaluate these positions. People who want to sit there and be retired on active duty, that's not an elected official by the people, for the people.
Ryan, to answer your question, I would say to work with the other city commissioners, to work with Ms. Vicki Gaynor, to work with the department heads, and to work for you, the citizens, no matter the hour, no matter what point of no matter how they contact you, and to just always be there for the citizens to make things happen, no matter what it is, no matter what the complaint, no matter what the outcome may be, just to do it for you guys.
But my question was, how do you tap into the community resource, the expertise that we all have that none of you have, and use that to help the city? How are you going to help get community members to help you help us?
Reach out to them. You community members as yourself.
Yes.
Reach out to them. You know, gain that availability. Post it on Facebook. Start emailing, calling, texting, asking for that help, asking for that input. Taking that back to the commission, working with, like I said, Ms. Gaynor, and bringing them in and giving you all an opinion. Does that answer better?
Yes.
That availability time has to change. The commission meeting times have to change. That's not conducive to our constituents. The roundtable meetings that are held, they're not conducive to the constituents of Lynn Haven. They're held at a time that's convenient for those that are sitting behind the desk, not for the people of the committee, of the community.
Ryan, to answer your question in regards to tapping into the resources that we have here in Lynn Haven among our citizens, I believe a quarterly meeting, making it available to the community at a time that is conducive for the community to come out and share with myself and other commissioners that would like to come, and the city manager, if they're available, to talk about what are the various resources and talents and skills that our community has, as well as the different ideas that they might have. I think we're doing some of that now with the city. I know on Lynn Haven Neighbors, Ty Ferris is getting a little more engaged in posting things that community services is doing. I think it was a great job when our city commission allowed the Mosley Arts to design our City of Lynn Haven sign. So I think I think we're moving in that direction, but certainly there is more that we can do, and I believe it starts with quarterly community meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it starts with not telling people to sit down and shut up.
I agree. I think that's a great question, Ryan, that people don't realize we have talent, that it's right here in our city. We need to get residential committees together, people that have expertise in certain areas, because you have the best knowledge of all. Plus, people come and talk to you, tell you, hey, did you hear this? And that's the way of communicating. You have committees. The committees can report to, whoever's on the commission and the mayor and the city manager. But there needs to be a constant flow of it. It needs to be people that are really serious, but you also get a sense of you have done something and donated your time to the community. You're giving back. And what happens there when you give back, you have a good sense of, a healthy community where you do prosper. But again, it's the citizens. Every one of you has a talent, and you don't realize it, whether it's gardening, finance, and things like that. But you need to start the committees. You're all out there. And then you need to come and bring it to the commissioners. And again, that is a very important part. The commissioners really need to hear you the people. And that is probably their biggest mistake that they're making right now. They're not listening to you. If you don't listen, how do you know if anything is wrong? How can you fix a broken problem when people don't speak to you? And I do understand when somebody asks a question and they don't answer it right away for, legal reasons, I do understand that. But perhaps there's always a solution to that. If you can't answer it right then and there, take the question and say, I'll get back to you. Would that ever be a problem? Wouldn't be a problem for me if somebody said, you know, I don't have the answer. Let me consult the attorney. Let me find out from the commissioners, city managers. Get back to you with an answer. That would at least satisfy you knowing I was heard, okay? And they don't just turn you off. And those are little things that we can work on. Again, it has to do with the whole concept of elevating communication, and that's what communication is all about. Thank you.
Thank you.
This one's for you, Ryan. Thank you. I actually think this is a pretty easy fix, to be honest with you. Like Brian Gray, I also sat down with our former mayor, Kelly, and had a long conversation with him. And he loved the way his administration and commissioners ran things, and from what I understood, it ran very well for 18 years he was a mayor. One of the things that he had is he always had workshops before commission meetings. I understand Jesse wants to do one quarterly. That's good too. But I think that to help this communication breakdown that we have, which is apparent we do have, I think that there should be a workshop before every commission meeting. Like the previous week. So if our commission meeting's on Tuesday, maybe the previous Thursday, have a workshop about what is going to be on that agenda. Why? You guys are going to know about it before we even get to the commission meeting. You can already talk about it. Your voice can be heard. That's what everybody wants, right? You want to be heard. This would be an opportunity. This would be a platform to be able to do it. To answer your question, I work for Arthur Ruttenberg Homes. It's a custom home builder. My company, not me, my company is building Vicki Gaynor's home. Commissioner Tinder knew about that. I just want to let you know. I'm 100%.
I'm sorry, when we started to build her house, she wasn't kind of getting into the position. When we started with her, she wasn't.
She was an assistant. She wasn't even the city manager when we started building with her. But that's all. Yeah, but
it matters to me. So
yeah, and that was the one thing that Judy touched on. What may not be important to you is important to him, and what may be important to you is not important to him. We are all different. We all come from different types of walks, and this is our opportunity to have people up there that are actually going to work on your behalf. If you elect me, you elect any one of them, you are telling us that you want us to speak for you. We need to honor that because that is huge. That should never be something that's taken lightly. All I can tell you is that this is something that is probably way, way overdue. And I would be more than happy if I'm elected to make that motion. The first meeting I could get in there is we need to make a motion to start having workshops before commission meetings so the public can be there, as many as they can, and voice all the questions that they have because it's your right. You have the right for that. Thank you.
I got a simple solution. Right now, as we have it, we have a city manager strong structure. Hiring, firing, discipline. Department heads aren't free to do their job and to take care of citizen concerns. Why don't we do, as the charter allows, have the commission establish a civil service commission, have public input, have public sit on it, a finance director, make sure we have the qualified people for the positions that they're in and that they can serve the citizens and do their job. And they're free to do their job. Don't have to worry about, oh, the city manager's going to fire me if I do something. Or you call somebody, oh, we can't answer that question. It has to go through the city manager. Why? Just because we always done it that way? That's not an answer. That's not good enough for the people that we work for, and that's you. We don't work for ourselves, and if you're just up there for a part-time job and a paycheck, you don't need to be there anyway. We can replace 2 commissioners. Thank you. We can replace 2 commissioners and a mayor this time. 2 years later, we can do it again. So don't feel like my vote don't count. I don't need to go vote. Man, vote. Take 10 people with you. Vote for Brian Gray if you want to. That's okay. But we got a lot of people up here that are really good candidates. I'm glad 10 people are stepping up. So that's awesome.
if I had something. I could go a long time on this, and someone had brought up about I think it was you brought up about the Q&A thing, and I kind of feel guilty about that because I think they started not allowing you to ask Q&A. I think it was because of me. And
don't matter who or why, it's not right.
I agree with you, absolutely.
We can't fix it today, we can't fix it tomorrow, but the next commission meeting, somebody, this body, needs to stand up there and say, change it.
Amen. Amen. So, I forgot where I was going with that. But, you know, I'll turn this back on you because there's a lot of, I did not expect this many people to be here. And I would put this back on you as, why don't you come to the commission meeting? And it may be the meeting time. If that needs to change, then we need to change the meeting time because it has to be what's best for the residents. Not what's best for the city, what is best for the residents. And I'll tell you another thing that I did, not trying to give myself credit, but since early November, I've been going door to door, talking to as many people as possible. I have talked to a lot of people. And I didn't know how it was going to go. And at that time, no one was running against me. I just wanted to talk to the residents. I wanted to get a tone of what's going on in the residents. And I got a lot of great ideas from residents. And there are some outstanding people. There are smart people. But we got to get them at the meeting. We got to get them actively involved in the community. And I'm sorry, I'm going to pick on you, ma'am. I think I talked to you this past weekend. How long did we talk for?
Probably about 30 minutes.
30 minutes or so. And we had a great conversation. And that's what it's all about, because I don't know what your problems are unless I reach out to you. And then hopefully we can get you to come to the commission meeting, we can get a lot more people involved. You know, we talked about the charter. I think we need to have a committee for that. And I think we need to put 5 people in charge of that committee where residents can come in and provide their inputs. But we got to get community involvement. And I'd ask, please, please, please come to the meeting. Because I don't want it to be every time I'm in a meeting, they're like, oh, this tall, goofy looking guy's coming up and asking a question now. I want it to be somebody else. Because then I just become noise after a while. So I would put the ball back in your court. Please come to the meetings. And if you got any suggestions on how to get more people to come to meetings, please, I'm all ears. Because I want this many people at the meetings. Thank you.
A lot of you people didn't meet me during the election season because I didn't go out. I sent out a flyer and let you know that it was COVID season and I wasn't dealing with it. You weren't gonna let me in your house anyway, so I didn't go out. That's why I mailed out a flyer. Now, as far as these meetings, the communication everybody keep talking about, go online and find this, go online and find that. Some of y'all are older than I am, and I'm old. So I don't go online unless I have to. You can make a written paper copy of everything you want to do in a meeting or after the meeting, and put a copy in the library, put a copy in the sheriff department, the police department, put a copy in a central location that people can come by and read it and don't go. We have some older citizens in this town that's not going to go anywhere on a computer. Everybody keep talking about technology. We know it's coming, but some of us are fighting it. And there's your citizens, your neighbors that don't want to leave the house. They don't want to look online to find it. Call them and tell them about it. They may show up. But if you put it in writing, some people will go to the library to read it. They'll go to the police department to read it. They'll go to the fire station to read it. We can do those things. That's part of the communication. Don't just think one way. We got to think outside the box. And we need to have a meeting. We can have a meeting at 9 o'clock at night if it'll fit most of the people. We got 20 to 23,000 people in Lynn Haven, and we get maybe 60 people at a meeting, a major meeting. And that's ridiculous. Thank you, ma'am.
To address your question, Ryan, in addition to some of the things that have been said, I totally agree. You know, workshops are good. Some of the meetings that some of the others have talked about are good. Volunteerism is something that works in other places where I've been. We've got to get people willing to volunteer. Right now, I serve on the CRA advisory board. We can't hardly get people to volunteer to serve on that board. And it's that way with boards all over this town. There's a lot of expertise. I mean, all of y'all have got expertise in different areas that you could help us with, whether it's the CRA, the planning board, the beautification board, any of these other boards. But it's just a struggle to try to get people to volunteer. I don't know what the solution is to get them to do that, but we need to find a way to be able to tap into what they're doing.
I can tell you what it is. They're not proud to be part of Lynn Haven's boards. You gotta give them a city that they're proud to be a part of.
Okay. You have a question?
Maybe I'll sit over here. I just wanted to say, I mean, everybody is just, hearing everybody speak, everybody is just so accomplished and just so wonderful. It's just wonderful that everybody just has so many things to bring to the table. So I just think that that's just great. And you're very brave people too, so to step into things. There's a lot to clean up, I think. Hopefully not as much as maybe we think there is. I know there's some things that are at least important to me. And some of you who have heard me speak, I don't even live in the city limits, so, but I kind of live in Switzerland. I live in College Point, so everything surrounds me. So these things are important to me. I do want to come to the meetings, and I do think that we need to be accessible. Okay, so what happened at the last meeting, you know, I thought we were going to talk about moving the meeting to 6 o'clock because the time changed, and then all of a sudden it's now it's 4 o'clock. What just happened? And then that just got voted on all of a sudden. And it's just, there was no input from the community. You know, and so I put it on Facebook, and some people are saying, okay, we don't like that. You know, this had been tossed about back and forth, you know, before, you know, that we need to have meetings. Personally, I think we need to have an earlier meeting for senior citizens, you know, because a lot of them, you know, especially when the time changed, they don't want to drive after dark. Okay, I get that. But let's have something for the working people to come. You know, we need to have, if you want that input, and workshops are just an awesome idea. I would love to have more input. And then I went to a meeting, and I know Janet was surprised too, because she gets up and asks questions. We've always done that. Nobody wants 3-hour meetings, but on the other hand, you know, you need to be able to get up and be excited. And so when you get cut off and you're asking a question, and then you have to address the mayor directly, and you can't look at anybody else, and it's like you're sitting here. I mean, it's just, it's ridiculous to follow all these rules, and it's not, you're putting a wall. So I just would like for, you know, whoever wins the elections, I just hope that you know, are seeing some of the things that are happening right now that people are so angry about, and you take that to heart, and don't do those same things when you get into office. Make yourself accessible to people. Like someone else said, you're our neighbors, and we're your neighbors. And, you know, we see you in Publix, and, you know, we all want what's best for this city. And I've lived here for, you know, going on 20 years now. And I care, you know, obviously I'm invested in, you know, the groups in this town and everything else. And I care about this city and what happens to it. And it just breaks my heart what's happened lately, you know, with some of these things. And going back to what, you know, Vicki was saying about stormwater, you know, to get out of my neighborhood, and I've brought this up at commission meetings, it is crazy to get out of my neighborhood in the morning. We keep building and building, and I think people, and I don't mind having, you know, industry here. I'm all for development that is responsible. I think we need that. That's great to have jobs here. But people, I think, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think people move into Lynn Haven because it's communities, it's history. This is what this group is about. We love the you know, the communities, you know, the grassy areas, the beautiful landscaping. We don't want to see house next to house next to house next to house, and it just going up 389. I hope nobody's a builder here that's doing any of that, but that just it's crazy. And when you build like that, you're gonna have water problems. When you build house after house after house, where's the water gonna go? And you're building when we have such a high water table anyway. It doesn't make any sense at all. So isn't that part of the problem why we have such a water problems in the city of Lynn Haven? Doesn't that make sense? So I don't know, y'all. If anybody's an engineer, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, it just makes sense to me. I know that when they built the Walmart here, that what I understand that neighborhood never flooded back there until the Walmart got built, and then it was pavement. And then all of a sudden, all those poor people back there in those houses, it floods back there. So it's just things to consider. I mean, like I said, I personally don't want to live in a city where I have to sit there for an hour trying to get out of my neighborhood, you know, where the traffic is horrible. Like someone else said, their neighbor, they just want to get out of their neighborhood. My sister lives in Mowat Highlands, and she hates it, the way what it's turning into. But the way they've turned the lot sizes, now you can build on a smaller lot size. They've halved it. just think about those things. Whoever wins, you know, the elections, just think about those things and the community that we all want. And maybe you can speak to some of these things too. But accessibility and listening to the citizens is a big issue, especially right now.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? We should probably get close to wrapping it up. Go right ahead. Okay, we got all night.
It's just a couple of quick comments. I've heard y'all talk about Lynn Haven and the citizens of Lynn Haven. Well, I'm talking for the employees. I mean, he talked about it just a minute ago, just a little bit. But to me, you know, I've worked all my life. The employees are the backbone of this community. You got some people up top that run it, but if you didn't have those people out here on the streets doing the work, you wouldn't have nothing. So you got to have somebody doing the job. And right now, I know you listen to the comments and everything. Oh, everything's working real good. Everything is fine. And well, all those people in City Hall is getting the big salaries up there. Everything's fine for those. But you go out here to Joe Blow that's working on the side of the road, we hate it. We are disgusted with the management in City Hall. I mean, it's not just one or two. I talk to them all the time. And there's very few of them that's satisfied with the management. I mean, very, very few. And I think Ms. Judy made a comment here 6 or 8 months ago at one of the meetings that a lot of the workers were disgusted with management in City Hall. And as long as you got the workers that's disgusted with management, you're not going to get a good work performance out of them. They're going to just sit back and do whatever they can to draw a paycheck and go home. They don't take no pride in the work. They don't have anything to do but work and go home. The other question, and I don't know, this is just stuff that I've heard over the last 2 or 3 weeks or so. I know Mr. Walker made a comment here, and I talked to him about it a while ago, but anyway, 2 or 3 months ago, he made a comment at one of the commission meetings. He asked who and when did they make a decision to tear the library down, and they shut him down like they do the rest of them, more or less doesn't have a seat. Well, I've been told by some people that probably is in the know. Don't know if it's fact. I'm not saying it's fact. I'm just saying that I was told by some people that there never was an engineering study on that library as far as repairing. It was just it's not in their grand scheme of things where it's at to rebuild all this fancy stuff over there. And I don't have no problem with building City Hall, no. But if the library could have been repaired for whatever, roof, because the walls and everything is substantial. The only thing that was really damaged was the roof. And I don't know whether it cost $200,000, $250,000, whatever to repair the roof. But if that's the case, what's going to happen when all this stuff, I guess they're going to try to get the money from FEMA to rebuild the library. Well, if FEMA gets this thing that it wasn't damaged to the fact that it needed to be destroyed, are they going to pay for that? I don't think so. If you're going to do that, you're going to get some more of that Tallahassee FBI stuff looking at you. And I don't think Lynn Haven needs no more of that. So I'm just saying, I don't know. That's just comments that's made to me by substantial people. Candidates, that's something that y'all need to look at and be aware of if you go into office, that could be a possibility, because like I say, insurance, FEMA, all these people, they're not going to pay just to have a building tore down to move it because you don't like where it's at. Now
Great comment. Yes, sir?
And remember the employees. I have a can that I would like to kick down the road, and I'd like to kick it to you. Now, you do not have to respond to it tonight, but if you'd like to kick it around down the road for 2 or 3 months and come up with a solution, I would appreciate that. We moved here when I was 15. That was 1956. You're not the oldest person here. I moved away for 36 years. I'm living at 1103 Michigan Avenue. I haven't introduced myself. I'm James Dean. When I moved back in Thanksgiving 2004 in my parents' home, I started attending the city meetings. Well, the one thing that I saw was that nearly at every city meeting there was somebody there with a petition or a presentation that they wanted the codes changed so they could do something to their property. After 2 or 3 years, I called one of the commissioners. We had been high school buddies together, and I said, "Why are you changing allowing these people to do this when they bought the property and they knew what the codes were?" And his response to me was, "Well, can't they do with their property what they want to do?" I don't know. Well, make a long story short, my dad built a wood shop diagonally across from our house in 1970. In it, he placed all of his equipment that he had retired with, saws, planers, everything. He had been a owner of a millwork shop at one time. He had been a carpenter for most of his life. So he had an abundance of equipment. The building was 24 by 50. Now, Hurricane Michael took care of it for us. I have a double garage behind my house, and it is full of that equipment. I can't store anything else that I have because of that. In the back of my yard, I have a pile of lumber. Most of it is hardwood. In fact, I'd say 90% is hardwood. Walnut, maple, cherry, cedar. That stack is 7 feet tall and 12 feet square. Now, a board foot, if you don't know what lumber is, a board foot is 1 inch thick, 12 inches wide, and 12 inches long. How many board feet is in that 12 by 12 by 7 stack? The winds after the hurricane has ripped all of my coverings. They're good for 2 or 3 months, but after 6 months, they're not. I've recovered it several times. I went to the city and asked if I could rebuild Dad's shop. And the answer was no. And I said, well, why? Well, the codes no longer allow a shop to be built in that area. I said, well, he had one in 1970 that he built. Can it be grandfathered in? No. All of this lumber that I have is rotting. It's been out almost exposed to the weather for 2 years now. I don't know what to do with it. And all this stuff I've got in my garages, all this equipment, I've got to put it somewhere or give it away. So anyway, that's my can.
Okay, anybody else have a question?
Yeah, I can walk from here. Because COVID-19 is still around. What do you guys think about it, and what are you going to do about it?
Anybody have a comment on COVID? Stay away.
Just finished meeting with my leadership team at the church today as it relates to COVID-19. And it is a challenge having to understand where everyone is with it personally. What we do as a church, and I'm not saying that what we do as a church is what I want to say we should do as a city, but I believe as a city, what we've been doing is continue to look at the CDC guidelines and look at their recommendations and continue to implement those. And we also have to look at what does the governor require of us as well. And so I think that's what we should continue to do, is look at the guidelines, implement those, and encourage our citizens to follow the guidelines as well.
Thank you.
And like was said before, a lot of senior citizens, my parents, don't have the internet, don't have access to, hey, when's the shots available? Where are they going to be at? What time, what date, what place? Why can't we print that information out and post it at City Hall on the public square so everybody can know? Why does it have to be a secret?
Agreed on that one. Yes, sir?
So I actually have one more question that I've just been dying to ask all night. So the way our city works is that the commission chooses who runs the city as city manager. That person gets an annual performance review, whoever it is. The commission and the mayor get a performance review when they're up for re-election. One of them right now is getting their performance review. We'll find out if she passes or not. As far as the city manager's performance review, I was a little disturbed, because my entire time I was in the Air Force, which granted it was only 4 years. I did the 4 years I wanted to do and moved on to other things. But I still get an annual performance review where I work now. And every single one of them, I had things I needed to improve on and goals I needed to achieve. One thing that I was extremely disturbed about with the city manager's annual review, regardless of if they met the goals that they had or not, was that there was not a single area for improvement. So that's it. They've done absolutely everything they need to, and we can expect no growth and no improvement. There's no expectation of improvement for our city manager. Whoever that person is filling the role, there's no expectation. It is up to the commission to determine that. 3 of you will be on that commission, and the next time there's an annual review, I fully expect you to have areas of improvement for whoever is in that role, because your performance review, well, for the mayor, it'll be in 2 years, and for the other 2 commissioners, it'll be in 4 years, unless I guess you get indicted before then. Hopefully none of you do. So.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay.
No one wants to follow that up?
Yeah. This has been a wonderful night, and I'm having a great time. I could do it all night long, but I'm sure everybody's ready to get home or eat dinner or whatever. But okay. Yes.
I just wanted to say that I love Brian's idea about having a workshop before meetings. I think we need to get more personal with the residents of Lynn Haven. Even when you have a workshop, the way it's set up is very, you be out there, I'm going to be up here. It's very segregated, if you will, and things of that nature. I think, and I'd love to call it like a round table, community round table. Call it something, friendly, and have it be about community. But I wanted to address this gentleman's comment about employees. It's been at least probably 2018 early or late 2017, the city manager at the time, Mr. White, ordered uniforms for the workers that are out in the street working and digging and, they're in the heat. Now, currently it's the same thing. City manager now can spend up to $35,000 without permission of anyone. And so most people don't realize that. $35,000 they can spend. So here is what happened with the uniforms. Mr. White ordered uniforms from New York, and he spent $34,900. I've seen the invoices, and then he ordered the other $100 worth the next day. Well, that's what happened. But the problem is The poor people that have to wear these uniforms are made in New York. If you ask them, they are not comfortable, they're hot, they're scratchy, they're a little bit of everything. Why we ever went out of state to get them when we were getting them here, I have no idea. But that's just one thing that the administration takes over and leaves the employees behind. And I know for a fact, I made this comment and I got it handed to me on a platter and during the evaluation, that most of our employees are afraid of our city manager. Afraid maybe was the wrong choice of words, and I said every single employee, so I should have never said that. But I hear about it all the time. I'm not just making this up. Right. They come to me and they tell me, and they say, Judy, I can't say anything, I'll lose my job. That's right. I can't do this because I'll lose my job. That's right. I have, amen. No. And I have handwritten notes from employees that were forced to write something about someone. And they both came and talked to me. One came to my home and he said, I can't sleep because I did this. And that person got fired. And he said, did I do this? I said, no, you did not do it. The person who insisted you write it's the one that did it. Unfortunately, that person's gone, but the person that made him do it is still there. We have to look at the administration. We have to look at the directors. And we have to look at the people who are hiring them. It's not us.
Probably all the way to the top.
All the way to the top. Mm-hmm. And I loved Mr. Hines' thing too, when he said, no, what was it you said? No, you made a great point, and it's just left me. What in the heck was it?
What was it?
I don't know. I've forgotten. But anyway, I think everybody's made such good points here, but I think we have to change our attitude about the residents. It's got to change, and we have to welcome what they have to say, but we have to do it in a friendly atmosphere. It can't be set up like us and them. It has to be where we're all sitting together. And again, about the agenda, and this has always irritated me. We get this agenda, and there's a consent. If you pick up a sheet at the door when you come into a meeting, there's a section there. It's consent agenda. There's usually 3 or 4 items on it. It could be as far-fetched as everybody has to wear black shoes tomorrow, and the next one might be we're going to sell property to, Joe Blow. They are totally different. And we just go, anybody got a motion? And they say, motion, second, and it's seconded. We have a choice. If we hurry up and read it, we can say, pull 6 out or pull 7 out. I want to talk about that later. But everything is done in saving time. And I think, what's that? Well, and see, unfortunately, that is what a lot of people think. But I think we have to be willing to give up the time. They're important decisions, and we can't be, excuse me, apologizing to the public, going, "Sorry, the meeting took so long." These are important issues. We shouldn't be apologizing. We should welcome the residents to participate. Thank you. I won't get up again.
I'm not a real political person. I'm not even sure I know exactly what I'm about to say, but I know that there's some kind of manager people roundtable thing that she meets at the garden club once a month or whatever the case may be. And that's all fine and dandy, and she does need to know what's going on, but it's more important for the commissioners to bring it out to more people. And if there were a commissioner roundtable meeting, and I realize the Sunshine Law and all that stuff, you can't get together, but one commissioner this week, okay, one commissioner, and then the next commissioner, and then the next commissioner. So that you have the roundtable every Monday, and that each Monday is a different commissioner or whatever. That way, people who want to speak to that commissioner and find out what they might want to send back, they could send the information back. It shouldn't be with just Vicki Gaynor. And even if it were Vicky, and I don't know if this can happen or not, but even if it were Vicky and a commissioner each time, because she seems to always want to know what's going on and be right up there at the top with everybody, at least that way she would hear some of the stuff. But I don't think everybody's going to bring to the table what they would bring to the table if she were not there. So anyway, that's my thing on meetings. Okay, is there anything else anybody wants to contribute? Okay, we still have refreshments in this room and I don't want to take them home. So go in there and eat a little snack. Candidates, just please do so. Thank you very much for coming. And don't forget, this is the Lynn Haven Heritage Society meeting. We would love to have you as a member if you'd like to join.
If anybody has any questions they'd like to ask, I'm going to stay after, comment with your questions. I'll ask specific candidates questions, so just let me know. Hey, how's it going? Which one? 1 second. It is. It's going to stay on, too. I'm going to talk with candidates, so the mic's off right now, though.
Frank Stevens. I want to say thank you. I very much appreciate all the work that you put into this.
Thank you.
Fantastic turnout.
And I don't even pay for it either.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to give every candidate, if they don't depart, an opportunity to say anything else they'd like to say. Do either of you want to take an opportunity? Okay. What about you? Okay. Do you have any final closing comments from tonight that you'd like to share with the public?
No, I enjoyed this. I'm glad that a lot of people came out and a lot of interaction with the residents. I think that's the important piece is knowing what's on the residents' minds, you know.
Yeah.
And I've learned some things. That this is going to be a continual learning experience. I've learned a lot so far. I'm going to continue to learn more in the future. So I really enjoyed it.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
That was Jamie Warwick for seat 3. Do you have any closing comments you'd like to make to everybody that's going to be watching?
Are they watching right now?
It's still live.
Oh, okay. No, not really. Just thanks everyone for listening. Vote for Stacey Houchin, C3. Thanks. Sorry.
It's all good. Just to remind everybody, early voting is at the Lynn Haven Senior Activity Center. And then on April 20th, if you're going to be waiting until April 20th to vote, you need to be voting at your assigned precinct. You can go on bayvotes.org, use the voter lookup tool, and find out where you need to be voting. A couple of the candidates here are currently busy talking to other residents, so I'm going to stand by and find out if they have anything else they'd like to say. Hi. I was just curious if you had any closing remarks for everybody that's been watching tonight.
Just walk over here. You can hear a little bit better. I thought this was a great meeting. I really, really enjoyed people's inputs, and I think, again, if people were listening, they know that the major issue, besides, the normal, is really right now the citizens need to be heard, and they're a little bit angry. We talked about that bubble that they have, that anger bubble, and I think that it was displayed here tonight, and it just, it came together instead of just one at a time. It was all here. It's out there. Please, commissioners, city manager, mayor, please listen to these citizens. You are here for them. They're calling, crying for help. Please help them. They need you. So
thank you, Ellen.
Thank you. Sorry about the noise.
It's all good. That was Ellen Fields running for mayor commissioner. see if we can get a final word from Brian Dick or Jesse Nelson. Hey Brian, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make for everybody that's watched tonight?
I'm looking forward to setting up, when elected, setting up these workshops before
prior to the meeting.
The actual commission meetings. I think that's vital, and I think that will also help restore trust in the city.
Right.
Very much so.
I think as long as they're not all at 8 o'clock in the morning,
No,
or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Because I've been blessed enough to work for a company who's very flexible, and I got their blessing in order to do this. If I didn't have their blessing, I wouldn't even be doing this.
Right.
But I understand having one in the morning. The other time, it could be 6 o'clock at night, 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. I don't care.
Right.
I'm available. I'll always be available.
Thank you. That was Brian Dick running for seat 4. George, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make to everybody that's watched tonight?
Oh, you still got your people online?
I am. We have a faithful 5 still listening. Plenty more to watch later.
Right. The meeting tonight was pretty good, and it's all about the citizens. People get in power and they forget where they come from, and they forget who feed them. I'm not running for money. I retired twice. I'm running for the people because the people need somebody that can fight for them and not fight for themselves, and that's what I'm here for.
And you're ready to
I'm
fight
here to
for
serve.
it.
Yes, sir. That's my job.
Right.
Fight for you. And I believe in having a meeting at least once a week until we get the city back on board. Then we can go to once a quarter. But until then, we need to have some kind of meeting with the people. The chamber, they will take North Middle School, which is part of Lynn Haven, open the gym and put all the people outside and put the leadership in the center and have people throw questions out and there's an answer. That's the best way to do that.
So you want to see where we don't have enough space for meetings because of all the people?
Yes, sir.
that come out.
We can always find space in the city.
I would love to see that too.
I would too. Take the gymnasium, just put us in the middle of the floor and let everybody throw questions out.
There we go.
Thanks,
George.
sir. Yes, sir.
This is George Hines for seat 3. Hey Joe, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make to everybody that's watched tonight?
Not really. I mean, I thought it was a good forum, and I just lean on my experience and leadership in finance and city and county government. So look forward to getting a chance to serve. Would appreciate their votes.
Sounds good. Thanks, Joe. This is Joe Brown running for mayor of Lynn Haven. The only candidate that did not attend tonight was Dane Messick running for seat 3. As you can see, we have a multitude of engagement with our candidates well after the meeting has ended. It's great to see that. If you missed having an opportunity to come down and engage with them, shoot me a message, post on the Lynn Haven Neighbors group. We can get you in touch with them. Hey Jesse, do you have any comments for those who watched tonight that you'd like to make before we part ways?
Thank you all for tuning in. We certainly appreciate your support and your input that you give us on Lynn Haven Neighbors. I look forward to serving as mayor of Lynn Haven, so I do ask for your vote and before April 20th, and I will continue to look to Lynn Haven Neighbors to get that input that you were referring to in regards to resources, input, ideas. And so I saw that I believe City of Lynn Haven is a new part of the Facebook group, and so I think that's really important. And so let's just continue to work together because we are greater together.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jesse. That was Jesse Nelson running for mayor. So that is going to wrap up my broadcast for the evening. My battery, I'm getting warnings on my iPhone for my battery, so I'm going to have to wrap it up here. There's chairs to be put away. There's things to be done. It takes a community. As you guys heard, everybody has their reasons for running. Everybody has what's important to them. The important thing is this is our city, and together we can make it better. Thank you.